Hey, it's Joy. I've got big feelings about little things, and I want to talk about it. Oh yeah, I'm mad about it. And the fact that everyone else is not up in arms about it is a big part of the problem. Oh, I bawled my eyes out, like I always do. It was the sweetest thing. Oh, it was the cutest thing. It was the funniest thing. Thanks for being here. Let's go. Hi, thank you so much for being here. I try to thank you every time we join together because I super appreciate you clicking play. I appreciate you finding this. I appreciate you looking for it. I appreciate you listening to it and chatting with your friends or texting me or telling me what you love about it. It is a true joy of my life, and it's why I started this podcast. But today I'm extra grateful that you're here because I am processing something pretty big, feels big to me. And I appreciate the opportunity to verbalize it just to the universe here, to the world, to whomever might want to listen. A giant institution in my life is coming to an end. I want to say it's dying because that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like a death to me. It is a local radio station in the town where I grew up. I'm from Dallas. It's a massive station in town. It's called KLTY. And when I was growing up, I think I've mentioned this before, I grew up in a very conservative household. And so there were a lot of restrictions on what my sister and I could watch, listen to, read. That my parents were very particular about what we used to sing this song called, "Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little ears, what you hear." And it was, they were very mindful about what kind of media particularly we listened to or saw or were exposed to. And in my younger years, in my childhood years, we were allowed to listen to the oldies station, which right now it will play you like a Bryan Adams song. But back then it would play 50s and 60s doo-wop kind of stuff and, the real true oldies. And we were allowed to listen to that. We could, although I would have never voted for it, we could listen to, news radio, traffic on the 8s, and we could listen to all the traffic and weather together. That was one of their phrases too, traffic and weather together. We could listen to all that we wanted, although we would choose not to. Or we could listen to KLTY, which played contemporary Christian music. Like when I was growing up, there was a group called For Him that they played a lot. Amy Grant was in that group. Today, it's people like Lauren Daigle, that contemporary Christian, like some stuff that you would maybe sing in church, stuff that you can listen to if you need a little worshipful moment for yourself, or you're struggling in the car, wanting to scream at everybody. You can have just one little quiet moment where you recenter. That's what they would play. And like I said, as a kid, that's all I was allowed to listen to besides the oldies. So I was extremely familiar with them. And I knew all those songs, and you can take me right back and I could probably sing you a lot of those lyrics. Phillips, Craig and Dean people, all like Carmen even. I mean, I could go down this list may not mean anything to you because the point of it is not what was actually on there, although that's a complete topic I could cover and how helpful it was. But it was just such an integrated part of my life. And I think anybody can kind of look back to the stuff they listened to as a kid, or even the stuff you saw on TV, like any of those little like jingles or the things that they said or the people that were on the radio. Those are such formative years that to look back, there's a little bit of KLTY in our blue Suburban that we drove around town. And I very specifically remember my dad was, and still is, someone that wants a clean cut car. These little stick figure families that you see on the back, some are straightforward. Some are little joke ones like, oh, you'll have a Star Wars stick figure family, or you'll have a funny joke about the stick figure family. He would never have anything like that on. Absolutely nothing. If it's not a parking sticker or a sticker from the state saying you passed inspection, it's not going on the car. But KLTY had this promotion where if you would put a bumper sticker on your car and somebody was driving around and came upon you and you had that bumper sticker, they would give you like $1,000 in cash. And there was a time during our lives when we could have definitely used that $1,000 in cash. And my folks didn't talk to me a lot about it, but you still know, kids know when things are okay and when they're kind of not okay. And I knew very well my dad would not want something like that on there, but I snuck in and put the KLTY bumper sticker. Back then it said 94, it was 94.1 KLTY, and it had a little pink kind of little underlining under it. And I put that on the car, just like thinking that might be our way out. Like I could finally help my family. Somebody's got to be out here. Somebody's got to be in Irving looking for a sticker on a blue Suburban. Like, please find us. Give us $1,000. We need it. Of course, despite me sneaking and thinking I'm really getting away with something, my dad immediately found it and took it off. We did not win the $1,000. I think you probably know that. But over the years, we would listen, and I specifically remember that they, at some point, I'm not sure why, I wasn't in the loop on this, but they changed their signal to 94.9. And then as time went on, then I got into the radio industry myself and got a phone call one day from a girlfriend of mine. We actually worked in country radio together. And she's like, hey, random, but I'm working over at KLTY right now. I don't remember the exact details, but she said, hey, they're looking for somebody at KLTY. Do you have any interest? I was like, as a matter of fact, I have a ton of interest. Talk about somebody that would be a natural fit for that radio station, somebody that grew up listening. I am a Christian. We play all Christian music. My name is Joy. And I grew up in this hometown. Like, this would be perfect. So I went and did my interview. Really liked the boss there. His name was Mike. It was very personable. And he knew, and I knew, I had not been on the air. I had not been broadcasting, had not been on the radio in a while. And so I said, just so you know, it's been a little while. Probably need to knock the rust off. And he said, sure, why don't you come in Saturday night from 8 to midnight. Just do a shift, get familiar with our equipment, make sure, work out some of the kinks in a low pressure environment. Saturday night is not the hop-in time for any radio station. At least since, 1990, So I went in. I was faithfully going to church at that time, and I went to a Saturday evening church. And I remember I didn't have the job yet officially. I think now looking back, I think he was going to give me the job, but he was kind of presenting it like it's a tryout. And truthfully, I'm sure if I had completely bombed it, he might have reconsidered, but he's also letting me into the building to do a shift. And I don't remember this part, but I don't think he let me in. I don't know. Anyway, none of this matters, but I think I probably did already have the job. But I told my friends at church, like, hey, don't tell anybody, but I have a tryout tonight for KLTY. And I told my roommates. So I went in, I did the show. Every single one of them called me on the request line. And we did like a fake phone call. Hey, I want to hear Sanctus Real. I've been listening. I went to their concert, blah, 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 times ago. Hey, can you play Chris Tomlin's So-Do-Do? That's a song I heard when They were so sweet. Every single one of them called. I made a phone call with every single one of them. I was playing all these phone calls back and getting my feet underneath me and everything. And it was such a fun, lighthearted, kind of meant to be experience there. And there's something about, I honestly do not think I can explain it to you, but I'm going to try. There is a certain feeling to walking into a place that you are supposed to be. And I mean, big feelers, we have a lot of low times. We have a lot of difficult periods in our life just because everybody does, but we're very in tune to them. So I was having a tough time in my life right then. And I had prayed, please give me a place to go. Give me, I'd love to get back into radio. Give me something to do. Give me something. And even when I walked in for that tryout, this song from Natalie Grant came on. It's called Your Great Name. And I felt like, okay, this is where I'm going to be for a little bit. And I don't necessarily know that Mike and I ended up saying, oh, okay, you passed your test or the rest is knocked off or keep working at it. But I got a job working weekends. That's what you do. Weekender. I would work on Saturday, probably Saturday morning, Sunday morning, something like that. I don't remember anymore, but I would come in on the weekends, do my shift and go. It was really fun. And I ended up meeting. So at a radio station, there's like the A team and then there's like the support team. So the A team is people that work Monday through Friday. They do the morning show. They do what we call the middays from like 10 to 2, who do the afternoons, who do the evenings. They're full-time. They're usually very well known. The ones at KLTY were very, very, very well known. And sometimes at different places, maybe the A team's a little snooty to the support team. I have not experienced that very much in any radio station I ever worked at, but KLTY is in that same category. The A team was very kind, supportive, always very nice to me. The morning show guy is still named Frank Reed. And he was a radio guy from long ago, long before he even moved to Christian radio. He worked in a radio station with Howard Stern way back in the day in New York. And so, in our world, that was a pretty big deal. And I still remember how it felt. He called me one day. I like on the secret private hotline. That's another thing. A hotline is like a phone number into the studio, but it has a red light that blinks, and it's someone that knows us. It's not necessarily like a bad thing, but you can't call the request line because that thing's ringing all the time. You would never get through. So it's a direct line so that you're going to get through, and the phone always gets answered. Even if you're in the middle of a break, as soon as that mic goes off, you're going to answer the phone. He called me on the hotline and introduced himself. And he said, "You sound so good on the radio." And of course, I knew who he was. And the fact that not only that he would give me a compliment was very kind, but the fact that he went out of his way, picked up his phone, called me, tried to find me to introduce himself to me and tell me that, I thought was so kind. And that was not the last time that he was kind and encouraging in some kind of way like that. So that was such an encouraging experience there. And at the time, Bonnie Curry was working middays, that 10 to 2 shift. And she and I ended up meeting because after I was the weekender for a little while, I ended up getting this job where I was working on the commercials throughout the day. if it's let's say it's a nationwide company like Toyota, they're going to make a big fancy commercial somewhere and then just send it to us from their marketing department. But if it's a local like insurance company or a local roofing company or a local whatever tutoring company, they're going to buy ad time and they're going to ask us to help them make it. So we have a separate studio where we go just make those commercials all day. And that's when I was at the station during the day, during the week, and spent a lot of time with Bonnie. And I think what I'm going to say about Bonnie is she and I have the same fun, little bit twisted sense of humor where it's just such a delight to make her laugh. You feel like you won a contest. And it was so fun she was very, very much like a mentor to me, taught me a lot, really taught me to tone down my radio voice. I'd try to make a commercial for it and be like, come get your apples at Tom Thumb. And she was like, excuse me. She was like, I would never in my life buy an apple from you. You've got to calm down. And I was like, oh, right. That makes total sense. But of course, she would even be hilarious about that, even though she's teaching me something. And that time, those years that I was doing those commercials, that was such a fun time because I also worked with this guy named John. He was doing the same thing. And we were like little kids. We were like little kids that were like, oh my gosh, guess what I get to do at work today? I'm going to make a bunch of commercials. Isn't that fun? And I'd be like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm making a bunch of commercials too. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. Play yours later for me. I want to hear them. Okay. I'll play you mine too. Okay. Bye. And we would also work on those. Mostly he would, but I would try to help him all the time. Those little things in the middle, they're like, KLTY is the best thing since sliced bread. And you would slice the bread or whatever. Or if we were having a secret sound contest, we would record those and make the little, we call them promos, making little promos for like, don't forget to play the secret sound. Ding, 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 ding. You're going to win $10,000. So we would make those and I would make the kind of lower level commercials and stuff. But it was such a fun, lighthearted time in my life. And to know that it was such an institution of my childhood, of my whole life, of so many people that I know and love. And anytime I was on, somebody would text me, call me, put on my Facebook page, oh my gosh, I heard you doing the news this morning. Oh my God, that's so awesome. It was so crazy to hear you. And what's hilarious is 50% of the people would say, the instant I heard you talking, I knew it was you. It sounded exactly like you. And the other 50% would be like, it did not sound like you at all. And I was like, okay, well, I'm doing this. I sound the same every single day. But half of you thought sounded exactly like me. Half of you couldn't tell it was me. But it was truly, truly such a great experience. And we used to have this big, big concert called Celebrate Freedom. And by the time I got there, and probably for many years before me, they had it out at South Fork Ranch, which is where the show Dallas was recorded. And that place is really cool. And I remember the first year that we got our assignments for what we were going to do for Celebrate Freedom, the first year that I went from the secondary team, the weekend, the support staff team, we always were at the studio when all the A-team staff were out at the ranch. What did I just call it? Yeah, out at the ranch for Celebrate Freedom. And they would broadcast live there and be there and meet all the fans. And we would be back at the studio because somebody has to still play the commercials and play the music and turn up the microphone where they're, so that goes out over the air. And then we turn it back off so that you don't hear it the whole time. There's somebody running that during those types of shows. And the first year that I got to go to the show, to the event and broadcast from there, you would have thought that I was invited to be a guest on the Oprah show. I mean, you really would have thought I had fully made it, because I was like, wait a minute. Wait, I'm going to South Fork? Okay. And, it's an Amy Grant year. So wait just a second. Am I about to meet Amy Grant? What's happening in my life? That little girl that only could listen to KLTY and was there, and then had gotten a job there, and then become somewhat a part of what was going on, was such a fun, satisfying, full circle moment. And ultimately, I left that job to change careers and end up going to nursing school after that. And I just read, just because I still have friends that work there, and I still follow kind of what's going on. I saw some folks posting that the radio station had been sold, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's how it goes these days. Radio's a business like anything else, and just because you play Christian music, you're still a business selling ads and trying to make the bottom line work. And it's not like we're in there at church. You still have to run a business and all that. I get that. I was like, yeah, things get sold. And as I was reading the comments, it really took me a minute to realize, oh, wait, the sale is not just a sale. They're selling it, and everything about it is going to end. So the plan is that they'll still play the new owners will still play Christian music, but it won't be from that same building, and it won't be from this town. It'll be from wherever it is, and it'll come through. It'll still be great. It'll still be very encouraging. I'm sure it will sound amazing, because that's kind of the way radio's going. But as I'm starting to realize, wait, I think everything we're used to hearing, all the staff, everybody, that I think that's all going to go away. Wait, I think everybody's losing their jobs. Wait a minute. I think, wait. Oh, okay. The sale does mean something. It means it's almost like a death, but it's not died right away. We know it's coming. It's like the station's on hospice, and we know the end is coming, and we're going to figure out how we're going to treat these last few weeks, these last few days. And we're going to let it go out on a high note, because it's been such a great part of the community, a great part of my life. And to have an extra inside scoop of working there, and getting to meet really cool people, and getting to have really cool experiences. But knowing that it's not just a radio station, right? To me, it's this big pillar, this institution, this foundational thing in my life, getting ready to say goodbye to it. So I honestly thought over and over, I've called a couple of my friends from there just to chit chat. I need to do a couple of more. And I was like, man, I don't know if they have a little party or something. I hope they invite me. And people have been posting about it on social media, but I was like, I don't really know what to do. So I needed to kind of talk all this out. And I thank you so much for being here for it. And what's weird about an institution like this is it's just an entity within itself. I remember Bonnie very early on saying something like, I of course, I'm not going to say it as eloquently as she did, but I just remember her saying, remember, there's other stuff going on, right? This isn't really like a church. It's not really, this is just an entity, and we are these kind of people, and we play this kind of music, and we do this kind of thing, but this in itself is a business. So it's weird to say goodbye to that, because it's just a thing. It's just an entity, but to me and to my life, into my memories, it's so much more than that. And of course, the people are very dear to my heart, and the memories and the experiences are very dear to my heart. And, the building is a studio, and the building is cubicles, and the building is phones and computers. But every time I drive by that place, it will always be that for me. And there will always be a special place in my heart for that time in my life and all those years. And I'm very grateful it was there for that time. And I know if you ever listened, I know, just because I know how this works, I know for a fact you have at least one time when you thought to yourself, I don't know how they did that, but that is the exact song I needed to hear at this exact moment. And I really don't credit that to the station. I do credit that to the Lord, but that the station was there and willing to be that vessel, I know has been a blessing to so many people. And so that's why it's hard to say goodbye to an institution, even though it's just a thing. It's just really an idea. It's just it's an undescribable being, but it sure meant a lot to me.
Thanks for listening to Little Things, Big Feelings with Joy Delaney. I'm James, the producer, editor, director, and executive producer. Follow Joy on socials at Joy Delaney Cox on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Honestly, forget TikTok. I don't even know how to use it anyway.
You don't know how to use it anyway.
James.
Follow Joy on socials at Joy Delaney Cox on Instagram and Facebook. See you next week.